Hello. Okay, we're going to put it together. We have our base plate here, we have the thing the niskins rest on, and then we have the back plate here. Okay, what we have to do is line everything up like this. Make sure that your base plate has a hole to the back. You then put the back plate on, lining up with the holes that run down the length of this centerpiece. Then you put the thing the niskins rest on top, and essentially this holds everything together. Okay, the first thing to do is you then put a bolt up through the center, find where it fits, and then screw it into the hole that's been drilled into this plastic piece in my right hand. Sometimes it takes a little while to find it. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Next, once you got one in, go along to another, line it all up again, and go again. Now obviously, because of degrees of freedom, by the time you get to the last one it should be really, really easy. Let's see. Goes up through here into the plastic piece. Screw it in nice and easy like that. Okay, I find the easiest way to put it together is standing up like this, although it may not look that way. Then what you do is you tilt it onto its back, and using the hex key here, tighten everything up. And you'll see probably in the video how things are tightening up here. Okay, first one. I don't tighten everything up all the way. Like the first bolt, don't do it as hard as you can until you get through all three. Just tighten them up a little bit snug for now, so you get all three lined up, and then just tighten them off a little bit. Tighten it off, tighten it off, tighten it off. Okay. Then when you stand it up, you'll see this kit is actually very light, it's very stable, but what we do as well is we grab another one of the bolts. A bolt and a nut and this back piece, and what we do is we place it like so. This piece here goes at the back.
What are you doing then?
I'm filming right now.
Huh?
I'm filming how to put a water chemistry set together. Oh. And then you tighten up the nut onto the bolt to secure the stand, the brace to the back. Okay, so that's nice and tight. You stand it up, put another bolt through the slot in the center of the back plate here. Like so. Hang on, let's tighten it up. There we go. So now you see that's very, very stable. Okay. Next. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. The next thing we want to assemble is the stands where the sample gets held and water ends up. Okay. So you take one of the basins like this. There are two basins here, as you can see. You take the valves, you screw them in. Putting plumbing tape, Teflon tape onto these helps them to stop leaking. You can see there's some Teflon tape on here. Normally I would replace these, make it nice new Teflon tape, especially at the start of a cruise. And then once they're screwed in, you leave this water chemistry set up or cruise, and it doesn't leak throughout the time. Okay, while we're here, we'll just put the bungee, just slides into the crenellations along the top of the back plate here. You'll see when I do the next video on how to use the water chemistry set, you'll see how these hold our Niskin bottles in place while we're working. and there should be 8 pieces of that. So they're all up there now, everyone's happy. Okay, now we have to divide the pieces up so that there goes one piece that looks like this, where you have an elbow followed by a lure locking outlet. One of those goes into each of these setups, so here's the other one for this one. Then we take the piece which has the sample holders here, you can put one of those in each. This one would be for here. Then we take this piece which has holes drilled in it, very large round holes, put one of those in each tube. Do the same, divide the poles which have threading on the bottom and a screw that goes into the top into each one as well. Okay. Now the way we set these up is this. There's a stock part over here. Okay. The first thing you want to do is you take the pole and you screw it into these little holes that are found down here on the side of the basin. So screw that in here. This one goes in here. Okay, beautiful. Alright. Next thing you want to do is you want to take the sample holder. Now, where the valve comes out here is the front of the basin. What you want to do is you want to give yourselves a little room here by taking these off. Okay. You want to slide this piece of plastic over these poles and slide it down to like a height around about here. We can fix it later and adjust it as we want. Then you tighten the thumb screws here at the back. Now you'll notice that the sample holders are facing me. We can slot bottles and tubes into here, and so we want that accessible at the front. Okay. Then what you do is you take this piece of plastic with the elbows and the lure lock fitting, and you place it so that you have the elbows go to the back and the lure lock fitting go to the front. You line that up over the posts. Then you take this piece which has the holes drilled in it and you line both of them up. Then you put the bolt down through these guys into the top of each post. Here's one. See again how I'm not screwing it in all the way when I do the first one. I wait until I've got them both screwed in part way, lined up, and then I come back and tighten properly. Right? And I don't, I always try and tighten both a little bit. Right? So you don't end up just ramming one in at a wrong angle. Okay, the rationale behind this is that when we run our water chemistry set, water will be flowing through tubes into here and then running out here through the filter holder. The water then gets captured in the sample holders and it fills up in here and then drains out. These holes here are for lids to be placed, so when you're on a ship and it's moving back and forth, you don't lose the lids everywhere. That's really awesome. Okay, so let's assume that I've built both of those. Okay, and we'll start working on just one side here. Next, what you want to do is you want to put the fittings onto this piece here. Now, fittings are these 4 spigots, which have lure lock at the top and bottom, female and male. What you do is you place this into this female lure lock and twist it around. You can make it so that it will start threading when you have the valve, the handle for the valve at the back, and it will twist around and end up at the back, which is not really what you want. So you always want to have it so it's facing you when you start screwing it in, and it ends up at the front. So we'll do that for all 4 of these. No, wrong way. Alright, have them nice at the front. Alright, now you don't want to over tighten these. It's actually very easy to snap off these lure lock fittings inside the plastic there, and it becomes a real pain. You have to get them out with a hex wrench. You have to ram the hex wrench into the thing and twist them out again. Okay, so right now we have the outlets for where the water will flow through. Let's keep all of our little pieces together. Try not to lose them or get them contaminated in any way. Then we take our filter holders, and we're going to do 4 of these. Remember, you can double it and have both of these basins operating anytime. Okay, a filter holder looks like this. You open it by untwisting the top ring. Then inside you'll see a backing here. That's where the filter sits on. Then you have a little piece that comes in on top, the lid of it. You'll see there are little tiny teeth in here that line up with the little accrenellation on the side of the filter holder here, so it cannot be twisted. Okay, that's good because if that twists, it can start shredding your filter when you go to tighten that ring down. Okay, so you tighten your ring, don't over tighten the ring, just make it finger tight, just snug it up, okay? If it is too loose, you'll start to notice leakage coming through here, but for example with particulate organic matter samples, sometimes because the GFF we use is a very thick filter, it's possible to over tighten this top ring and no water will flow through. If that happens, you have to back it off a little bit, allow some water flow, and then just snug it up again. Okay, so what you do is you just take each of these filters, holding this ring that moves here, just screw them in like that. Alternatively, if that's not your style, you can hold this nice and just in position and use that moving ring just to tighten it down. Depends on how you want to do it. Right now I'm going to do it quickly, or theoretically quickly, that way. Okay. Alright, make sure they're all nice and tight. Okay, sweet. So now we have the water flow end set up. Normally you would put some tubing onto this to run it to a sink if you want to drain to a sink. Alright, the next thing we want to set up is what goes between the Niskins and the water chemistry, the water flowing area here. Now for this we have 4 hoses that have a petcock at one end, and then they have a lure lock fitting at the other end. What you have to do is you take the hose and then you put the lure lock fitting in and just twist it onto that elbow. Usually what I like to do is I leave this petcock end loose so that it can twist. If you clip it onto a Niskin and then go to tighten this up, you end up twisting the line. So always start with this line first. So let's just hook those up really quickly. Nice. And I like to keep them inside the little basin here. That way, they stay nice and contained, won't get into any trouble and get contaminated. Okay, when you're actually running the water chemistry set, the Niskin bottles will sit here, slotted onto here, and they'll be held in with a bungee, like so. This, you then just take this piece and attach it to the Niskin at the bottom, so water can then flow down through. Okay, so that's that part of the setup, and that's where we'll stop for today.